Good morning. It is Coach Toya with a huge credit update. So one of the reoccurring things that I'm seeing with my clients recently have been, let me paint the picture for you. Go through a hard time in life and you get behind on bills. It could be medical bills, it could be whatever. And so now you're doing better financially, things are looking good, you want to buy a new house, and you start by paying off those debts. You think that's the first thing to do. Let me just call all the creditors and let me just pay them all. This is the worst thing to do. Okay? Number one, before you have to understand how this debt thing works. First of all, when a company, before they even sell the debt, they've got some type of insurance in place that's going to protect them and make sure that they get paid. So that company is getting their money. That's number one. Then they pocket more because they're now selling the debt to the collection company. The collection company buys the debt for pennies on the dollar. Okay? So they might be paying $30 for your $300 debt. Let's just use that as an example. Now that collection company comes to you and they want you to pay the whole balance. See where I'm going with this? Everybody is making money off of you. So when you're ready to start cleaning up your credit, what you need to do is, number one, you always start with disputing. Because, like I tell my clients, it is not what is correct, it's what they can prove. That's what the law backs you with. If they cannot prove that the debt belongs to you, like beyond a shadow of a doubt, this is your debt, they cannot put it on your credit report. It is against the law. So I always start with disputing it. Okay? You may get the debt off of your credit report. We're done. Debt's gone. Or they may validate the debt. At that point, that's when I step in and I help my clients, negotiate the debt. Okay? Because, and what I mean by negotiate is, you will be amazed of what you will find out. If you call them and say, look, I'm trying to pay off this debt. I want it off my credit report. What can I do? What is the least amount of money you'll take for this debt? Most of the time, they're going to give you a 20% discount off of the debt. Most of the time, especially if it's a debt that's $500 or more. Now, sometimes if it's $60, of course, they're probably not going to settle that. But if it's something under over $500, most of the time you can get 20% off. I've even seen cases where if they've had, let's say they have 3 or 4, they may lump it all together. And when I say 3 or 4, I mean 3 or 4 accounts for the same collection company. You can always lump them all together and say, look, I've got X amount of dollars I can pay you today. Will you take it? You will be amazed. And if you just ask what you could get, they may say, yes. What's your credit card number? Here is your next question. If I pay you today, will you remove it from my credit report? You're going to get 2 answers. You're going to get a yes, we're going to update it. At that point, you ask them, when do you report to the credit bureaus? They may tell you, we report every Friday. So then you know they will, if you're paying on a Tuesday, that's enough time for the payment to process. And by the next week, it should be gone off of your credit report. Or they'll say, no, we're contractually obligated to report correct information. So we don't delete it, but we will update it as paid. At this point, you got some choices to make. Okay? The next question you need to ask, what was the last date of activity on this account? Which means, when was the last time you got a payment on this account? You look at that payment date and you count 7 years from that day, because in most states, now you got to check your state, but in most states it's 7 years statute of limitation on how long they can charge you for a debt. You got to make a decision. How important is getting this debt paid to you? Because if you pay it and they update it as paid and they do not delete it, it does not help you. Okay? You're not getting the points back. It's still a collection. Even though it's a paid collection, it's still a collection on your account. At that point, there's no incentive to pay it. You look at the date of the last activity and you count 7 days. Because let me tell you what's going to happen. If you pay that debt and they do not update it as paid, as deleted, from your credit report, then you've started your clock again on how long they can keep that on your credit report. So if you've got another 2 years to wait, you might want to wait 2 years and let it fall off on its own. Okay? The only time, the exception to this rule is, let's say you've gone ahead and you're trying to be pre-qualified for a mortgage, and your mortgage loan officer tells you that your debt to income is out of whack, or maybe, you know, they have a rapid rescore. Some mortgage companies have what's called a rapid rescore. That rapid rescore tells you exactly what you have to do to get certain credit scores, you know, for mortgage qualification purposes. They may say, okay, Mr. Client, you've got to pay down that $300 or $500 debt, or $1,000 or whatever it is. You've got to pay that down, and that's going to put your score here, or that's going to put your debt ratio in line with qualifying for this loan. At that point, you have an incentive to pay the debt. At that point, I would call and negotiate what we would have to do to update this as paid. But if that's not the situation, and you are simply trying to clean up your credit, you want to make sure that you find out the date of the last activity, because if they're not going to delete it from your credit file, then you have absolutely no incentive to pay that debt, unless it's a situation that I just, you know, stated before. So if you want a free consultation, I do offer a free consultation. You can go to my website at www.coachtoya.com, or you can call me directly. My number is 980-202-2642. Talk to you soon.